The Copenhagen Zoo is experiencing some blowback after they made the decision to euthanize 4 lions. Now, this is an entire lion family, the mother, the father, and the 2 cubs. And the reason why they made that decision is because the 2 elder lions were considered too old and unhealthy. They wanted to bring in a male lion, a new male lion, and they were worried that there would be some hostility between the older lions and the new lion.
Yeah, that's because they're lions.
Exactly. Now, the 2 cubs were not old enough to fend for themselves. They were perfectly healthy. Everything was fine. But since they weren't old enough to fend for themselves, the zoo decided, hey, you know what, it's in our best interest to go ahead and euthanize the cubs as well in order to make room for the new lion. I understand the importance of zoos in terms of conservation. But in this case, I don't really see how this translates to conservation. You want to bring in a new lion, so as a result, you're going to euthanize 4 of them. The case with Marius, the giraffe, which happened in February, was a little more complicated than that, okay? But I don't understand what this is, and believe me, I've been reading article after article, researching this, trying to understand why it is that they think that it's a good idea to kill these 4 lions. Their reasons are not good enough for me. So let me tell you what they say. Because of the pride of lions' natural structure and behavior, the zoo has had to euthanize the 2 old lions and 2 young lions who were not old enough to fend for themselves. He male cub would have been killed by the new male lion as soon as he got the chance.
First of all, they're lions. Why don't we let them fend for themselves and see what happens, right?
I don't agree with that either, because I think they're right. I think that, of course, the new male lion is going to attack the cubs.
Okay.
But then that goes into a really complicated question of ethics within zoos and whether or not zoos are ethical. And it's not a black and white issue. There are many gradations, because the reality is they are important with conservation efforts, but not all animals in zoos are there because they're an endangered species.
No. Now I'm going to make people mad. Okay, first of all, zoos are fairly sick, okay? We cage the animals into little areas, and then we go and look at them and go, oh, look, it's a lion. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a hypocrite. I've taken my kids to the zoo, and they're amazed by it. And I know that there's obviously upsides to it too, conservation, raising money, etc., so that theoretically you could help protect these animals in the wild. But it's mainly for us to look at the animals and point them out, and they live in places that are unnatural. Now, we've ruined a lot of their natural habitat, so I understand that part as well. But I think that we're trying too hard here in some ways. Okay, in order to protect them, we have to kill them. It's like, we have to destroy the village in order to save it. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, if I was them, my common sense idea, which I'm sure they'll reject and find ridiculous, etc., is, all right, take the lions and release them in the wild. There's some natural habitats. They say, oh, no, the lions will get killed. Well, they're freaking lions. At least give them a fighting chance. You know how they're going to get killed? If you kill them. What's the downside? Oh, they might get killed. Well, you're about to kill them. So release them into the wild. I don't know, maybe they're badass lions and they'll survive.
I just question the legitimacy of the argument that zoos help with conserving these animals when you create an environment where they don't know how to fend for themselves. They don't know how to be integrated into their natural habitat. If you can't do that, then what's the point of breeding them and keeping them in a zoo?
Whatever. I mean, like they say, okay, first of all, we know what's going to happen. These lions are going to get killed, so we got to kill them first. It just makes no sense. It sounds like a line out of George W. Bush. We had to attack them over there before they attacked us over here. We had to attack their freedom before they attacked our freedom. Whatever, right? And second of all, like, if they're in the wild and you say they can't fend for themselves, you're probably right. But you know that in the wild, lions attack one another. And yes, oftentimes they'll kill the other lion's cub. That's what they naturally do. Like, that bothers us because we're like, oh, that seems wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we, judging the lions? They're not going to go into heaven? I mean, that's what lions do, so let them do it. I think that the whole thing is weird and unnatural, and us being like, no, don't worry, we're protecting them by killing them is just counter-logical.
With Marius the giraffe, I mean, that was a few months ago. People were outraged that this very, very healthy male giraffe was just killed in front of everyone, and then they skinned it and dismembered it in front of children.
Then they fed it to the lions. Are those the same lions they're going to now kill?
Maybe. So I looked into that because I was really curious. Apparently there are 9 subspecies of giraffes. 2 of them are endangered. Okay, so Marius was considered a Rothschild giraffe, and that's considered one of the endangered giraffes. The other one is the Nigerian giraffe. And in
So
that
it was
case,
part of the endangered
yes, yes. So what I found interesting about that was it was a healthy giraffe, but they said that they couldn't keep it at the zoo because they were worried about inbreeding. There were too many other giraffes that had the same genes. So then there were a bunch of other zoos that said, hey, you know what? We don't want you guys to kill this giraffe. Please, like, send it to me. There was an individual who offered to buy it, but of course the zoo can't sell the giraffe, so
Was
they
it
said
Mike Tyson?
no. So the zoo said no, but apparently with the Copenhagen Zoo, they're part of something known as the European Association of Zoos and Aquaria, and they refuse to give the giraffe to another zoo that doesn't meet its standards.
What fucking standards? You just butchered the giraffe.
You're gonna kill
what
the
fucking
giraffe.
difference does it make?
It's gonna die.
My guess is that if you allowed the giraffe to vote, be like, lower standards. I'm gonna be okay. Let me just go over there before you dismember me and feed me to the lions.